That's why, for example, the Japanese developed throughout 1944 and into 1945 various suicidal missions. Missions such as what was known as the Kamakan, which means biting shark. These were human-steered torpedoes, first used at Okinawa to sink some 14 U.S. ships. Or things like Kumishi, which means crouching dragon. These were submerged concrete bunkers that had Japanese divers equipped with underwater grenades, once again to destroy various landing craft and ships of the United States. Or of course, most famously, the kamikaze, a word that means divine wind. The kamikaze, of course, were pilots who strapped themselves into fighters loaded with as many explosives as they would carry and whose sole purpose was to crash into United States warships, trying to sink them in the process. It was the kamikaze who were seen as a modern-day samurai. In fact, they wore the hakamaki headbands or cloths the samurai were proud to wear around their actual brows. It was the kamikaze who were treated with the utmost respect by their commanders and by the people of Japan in general. In fact, one Admiral Onishi, who was in charge of actually organizing the kamikaze and sending them into attack, told to them before one such attack, "You are already gods without earthly desires." In other words, this had a distinctive Shintoistic or religious tone to it. They were achieving godhood. They were achieving some kind of divinity by getting rid of their earthly desires, by showing that they were willing to go to death for the case of their own emperor and his honor. One 23-year-old kamikaze named Isao Matsuo wrote home to his family these words: "Please congratulate me. I've been given a splendid opportunity to die. This is my last day. I shall fall like a blossom from a radiant cherry tree. May our death be as sudden and clean as the shattering of crystal." In other words, we could compare this to, say, what we talked about with the cross and perseverance and what we will talk about with Bonhoeffer. But there's a huge difference between a kamikaze and a martyr. A martyr dies because he knows what is right, and he often dies for the sake of others. Whereas the kamikazes died because of a twisted sense of honor. They died to take as many of their enemy with them as possible. It was ultimately an expression of hatred. One American officer who witnessed many of these kamikaze attacks described them this way. He said, "We watch each plunging kamikaze with the detached horror of one witnessing a terrible spectacle rather than as the intended victim. And dominating it all was a strange mixture of respect and pity." In other words, it was something that once again caused great psychological trouble to many of our soldiers who could not grasp the sheer pagan qualities and the despair behind the kamikaze.